Welcome to The Death of Miss Whitmore, written by Afonso Carvalho and Ryland Mason, a Detective Shepard Rogers locked room murder mystery. Hello, friends, and welcome to The Death of Miss Whitmore. In last week's chapter, you were introduced to the Whitmore family. Kitty Whitmore, a generous and charitable lady who spreads her wealth to the less fortunate in the community. Her brother John struggles to live a simple life, and after learning a hard life lesson, he loses all of his grandfather's inheritance in less than 3 years. Then there's her brother James, still in debt, working a well-paying job with a wife who spends faster than he can earn. James constantly borrows money from his family, friends, and even some undesirable people. Chapter 4. Family Dinner. The traditional Whitmore family dinner takes place on the first Sunday every month. This tradition was started by her great-grandfather in 1910. He wanted the family to stay close. So, by getting together for dinner once a month, they would be able to discuss current events, their lives, family gossip, and what was new and ongoing in town or the factory. It was a time to unwind and catch up with loved ones. Sometimes, with the way things are now, she wishes she could go back to that simpler time in their lives when they were all young and had no cares in the world. But lately, she has been tempted to cancel the tradition and completely disown her brothers. It has been arguments, yelling, screaming, fist-pounding, and slamming doors. For the past 3 months, the fighting has been escalating, and she was feeling uneasy. With multiple phone calls and messages from James, and even a few from Brittany. The nerve of that hussy, Kitty mumbles to herself. It's always about money from James. His wife is dragging him into the poorhouse. Even when trying to talk to James about Brittany and to get him to see Brittany's spending habits, Kitty always ends up screaming and crying. James was constantly needing more money. It was never enough. She wished he would just leave her. His life must be so miserable with the ongoing stress. She was surprised he didn't have an ulcer yet. Brittany should know by now there will be no money. The constant arguing and shouting makes her uncomfortable and angry. Kitty, not being an aggressive person, has not been dealing with this well, with constant headaches, shaky nerves, and nausea. She wishes it would all just go away. Knowing that when she is gone, everything she and her father and grandfather had worked so hard for will be gone in a matter of months. She was at her wit's end and, therefore, went to consult with her estate lawyer. Together, they agreed on a plan of action. She had promised her father that she would continue with the family dinners and look after her brothers. But that did not mean that she would support them. They both worked, making enough money to support themselves, and she ensured that was the case. But she distinguishes between giving them money or letting them live in her house. That has always been taboo, with her brothers thinking they deserved the house. The brothers argued it should belong to all of them, but according to their father, that was not the case. Their father's will clearly stated that the whole estate would be left to her, and her alone. The will went on to say that the way John and James had squandered their grandfather's inheritance, he was very disappointed, disgusted, and ashamed of the behavior of his 2 sons. She certainly does not need that chaos and aggravation in her quiet and peaceful home of having her brothers living with her. Kitty enjoyed living alone, her routine, and her nightly unwinding. Emily looked after her. Not that she needed to be looked after herself, but Emily was a big help, running the house, cooking dinners, and supervising the tradespeople and the cleaning staff. All in all, Kitty enjoyed her tranquility and certainly did not want to disrupt her life. On this particular autumn Sunday, the brothers were at each other's throats, again arguing and complaining about money. James wanted to borrow money from his older brother John. John, as always, would say no. You need to learn how to budget your money. If you're in financial trouble, maybe Brittany should get a job, John said. This had Brittany laughing. That's never going to happen. When I married James, he promised he would take care of me, and I would not have to work. And we would live in the big house. James looks away, embarrassed, and says nothing. John turns to Kitty. You should help them. Kitty, you know they're struggling. How can they be struggling? James makes a decent salary, pays no rent or mortgage, and all their utilities are paid by the estate. The same as you, John. Are you struggling? Do you need money? I don't understand. No, I will not give them or you any money, so don't bother asking, Kitty yelled, her blood pressure rising and her face red. I'm not asking. I'm fine. I know how to budget my money, John says. He needs to get rid of that lazy gold-digging hussy. She should realize by now that there will be nothing when I die. No money, no land, no factory. It's all going to my foundation and my charities, Kitty states with anger. What about the estate and the factory? John asks in a panic. The factory will be sold, and half the proceeds will be split amongst the employees. The other half will go to my foundation, Kitty states. What about the estate? Our family home, our land? James screams as he stands up and pounds his fist, sending the silverware dancing across the table. First of all, my dear brothers, it's my estate, land, and house. I haven't decided what to do about the estate yet, but I do know that neither of you will get the estate. And as for that, I'm not sure if you will be able to keep your houses and continue the estate supporting the houses. It all depends on the wording in Father's will and the new owners. You might be able to divide the land your houses are on, but then you would be responsible for taxes, upkeep, and utilities. And we all know how that worked out last time the both of you owned houses. But when I do know, I will see the estate lawyers and make everything official. Kitty spits with venom. With that statement, both brothers stand and begin to protest. But with one look of shooting daggers from Kitty, they turn away from the table and storm off. The gold digger storms out of the dining room in a huff behind them, slamming the front door on her way out. Hearing all the shouting and the door slamming, Emily, the housekeeper, enters the dining room. Miss, is everything okay? Yes, Emily, it's just my idiot brothers being greedy, the money-hungry jerks. I will relax in the study and try to get rid of this headache. Can you bring me a glass of warm milk with brandy? Kitty asks. Yes, miss. Would you like anything else? No, thank you, Kitty declines. I'll get that for you right away, Emily says as she leaves the dining room. Kitty rises from the table, shaking her head in disgust at her family, and goes to the study. As she entered the study, Taking a deep breath and slowly letting it out, she turned and locked the door with the side bolt and the handle lock. Kitty steps to the small sofa under the windows, plumps a pillow, and lays down. Maybe a quick nap relieves her throbbing headache. After a few minutes later, there's a knock on the door. Kitty rises from her sofa and approaches the door. "Who is it?" she asks. "It's Emily, miss. I have your warm milk with brandy." Emily hears the door being unlocked. Finding it very strange, she thinks, "I can't remember the last time it was locked." The door opened, and Emily handed the glass to Kitty. She thanked Emily, took her drink, and shut and locked the door. Kitty places her soothing nightcap on the side table beside her favorite reading chair. Then Kitty approaches the fireplace, turns the knob to low, then hits the button. With the small flames dancing in the hearth, she retrieves the latest Ryland Mason book about Egyptian treasure that she's been reading, and sits, taking off her shoes and curling them under herself and wiggling her body to find just the right spot, now being comfy and toasty. Taking a few sips from her cocktail, she picks up her book and settles in for some reading, ready to lose herself in the imagination of her favorite writer. Stay tuned for Chapter 5. After another grueling family dinner, which ended in fighting, fist-pounding, and slamming doors, Miss Kitty retreats to her study for some much-needed relaxation and a nightcap. With the heavy oak study door locked and bolted from the inside, Kitty settles in for a little reading before bed. So, stay tuned, follow, like, and comment. It helps us know you're listening and you like it. Thank you for your support.